And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Ask Wortel show. My name is Frank van Diest. I'm a product manager with Wortel, focusing on modern workplace, creating a new solution called Work, a name that you will be hearing a lot about tonight. I'm not alone. Of course, I'm with some co-workers, 3 of them to be exact. Ramon Bruin, Frans Oudendorp, and of course, our social guys becoming famous already, Maurice de Jong. He's monitoring the social channels. So if you have any questions, please use hashtag AskWortel on YouTube, Twitter. Maurice will be sure to pick them up and maybe even have some kind of prize for it. Let's ask him about that. Of course, in all the demos that you will be seeing, we are using demo tenants from Microsoft. So don't bother picking up passwords or stuff like that. It will all be gone by the end of the night. So guys, before we start, please, can you introduce yourself? And I'd like to start with you, Frans.
Yes, thank you. Frans Oudendorp, lead security consultant at Wortel, helping customers securing their workplace environments, and former workplace architect. So in this journey, also helping customer defining how to use endpoints within their environment. I'd like to hand it over to Ramon.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Ramon Bruin. I've been working for Wortel almost for 5 years already as a consultant with a very high interest in PowerShell and automation. I started out as an SCCM specialist, and then of course I continued with Intune, and now I've got the chance to automate all the things that I did manually before. And I want to hand it over to my colleague Maurice.
Yes, hi guys, I'm Maurice de Jong, and I'm a developer at the Vidara Deep Insight software for our SOC solution. I want to mention that this time we again have the Microsoft Flight Simulator for Xbox or PC as a prize. So send those questions in, and I will hand them over to our experts. So back to you, Frank.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So really excited. I think I'm about to learn a lot of stuff about the endpoint automation that we are working on. Before we start, as you can see, we are all working from home, or working is a big word, but we're tuning in from home. Sometimes there may be a little bit of difficulties using the sharing of the screen plugin. So especially Ramon at your end, when something like that happens, I will shout, Ramon, share your screen. So bear with us on that part. So I would say, let's get started. First and foremost, I'd say, Frans, why have you started this sometimes difficult journey on automating all these endpoint deployments? What's the short path on that?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Frank. We've done lots of implementations of Azure AD Intune, nowadays called as Microsoft Endpoint Manager and Windows. That results in lots of clicking, configuration, and takes a lot of time and possible mistakes. But I think it's more than a year ago that I had a brainstorm session together with my former colleague, and since yesterday, Microsoft MVP, Pouyan Ghabazi, about this. And how can we automate the deployment of all the things related to the endpoint? Together, we ran into a project of Ben Reeder from Australia. He had presented on the PowerShell conference in Germany, I think it's 2 years ago, about this stuff. We have taken this idea further and realized our own PowerShell module on that. After this, we have used it at some implementations with some limitations, of course, because it was not done and not finished. After that, we were busy with other things, and it becomes somewhat quiet on that. Then I think it's half a year ago, somewhat more. Then within Wortel, we started our own workplace solution at work based on Microsoft 365. For that, it's necessary that we automate things, the technique, so we can easily manage customer environments for new implementations, updating configurations. First thought was, oh, we had that module already, but is that enough? But when we looked at that, it wasn't enough, and we really realized that much more has to be added to be a stable solution. This has been picked up by Ramon, and he has added more and more functionalities to that. So that was the start of why we did that. So the first beginning was already more than a year ago.
All right, great. So in short, it's focusing on reducing time and increasing, let's say, quality by eliminating manual steps in the process, which are typically the same at the projects that we do, right?
Yeah, that's completely right. Mistakes that can be made, but also doing the same stuff every time. If we can make that less time of our work, most of the consultants are happy with that.
Otherwise, they would get bored. So, what's this module based on?
The PowerShell module is based on the Microsoft Graph API that we're using for that, mainly focused on Azure AD and Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And I think the question is probably, how is that working? Let me give you a short high-level overview of that. It's a PowerShell module, and to be able to use that module, at first we have to register within Azure AD an application. With that application, we can set the correct permissions within Azure AD, so we can read stuff, but also we can edit stuff. After that's done, the Graph API can be used to get that data, but also push data. We already said, edit the data. And if we do that, it can be downloaded, modified. And if the data is pulled or pushed, it's based on JSON files. The JSON files can be added offline. So we have the flexibility to edit all the settings for the customers and upload it afterwards. But maybe first, it's an idea that we dive in a little bit deeper on the Graph API.
I think actually that's a great idea. So I'd suggest, Ramon, if we can ask you that question, can you give a short introduction of what that Graph API is?
Yes, certainly I can do that. I will start sharing my screen. So I hope the tool will stay working. If not, I will reshare it again. So I will keep an eye on the sharing tool. So basically, in a little short introduction to the Microsoft Graph, what is it? What can we do with it? Basically, the Microsoft Graph is a RESTful API that enables you access to all kinds of Microsoft Cloud services. And all of this you can reach through a single API, in this case, graph.microsoft.com. Basically, using this address, you can access all kinds of services like Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, Exchange, SharePoint, but also from the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite. And in this case, we'll be accessing and showing you some demos about how to alter data inside Active Directory and, of course, in Intune, which is now called, of course, Microsoft Endpoint Manager. When you search on Google for the Microsoft Graph API, you will get into this nice page of Microsoft. It will give you some nice simple examples if you scroll downwards, which you can use quite easily by using the Graph Explorer. For example, you can ask, what is my profile, what's in it? If you paste the link inside this box in the Graph Explorer, if you are connected, you can simply run the query and then you can see, okay, well, my name is Adele, my mobile phone is this, and this is my email address. But you can also, of course, use any other example. For example, if you want to see your profile picture, you can copy the link over here and then paste it again into this box over here. It's the run query box, and then you can see the picture, which is saved in your profile. This is very simple, but it's a very good place to start just to find out how it works and what you can do with it. And I want to give it back to my colleague before we continue into the next section.
Thanks, Ramon. So the screen sharing kept working, so that's great news. Seems okay. Maurice, short on you. Do we have any questions already at this point?
That's a bit quiet, but we have one question. There's a question about, is it possible to surface all the Microsoft resources through the Graph API?
Okay, so the question is it possible to enter all Microsoft resources through the Graph API, right? So not only applications, but can we get anything that's in the Microsoft system out of that Graph API?
Yes, I can. I think I can answer that question for you. I would say we can get almost everything, but I would be a little bit careful saying that, of course. But when I show the Microsoft Graph index, basically where you can search the Graph API reference, which I now have on my screen, there's almost, well, at this point I haven't found anything which I could not query or alter, like calendars, users, groups. If we dive deeper, we can go to devices, apps, line of business, EOS app settings. There's so much you can alter or change. And if there's something which is not in here, over here, and you cannot find it, there are other ways to do some kind of reverse engineering, which I will be also showing you in a little demo to find out how you can create your queries without using the manual. So basically, I think we can do almost anything.
Almost anything, all right. And when doing almost everything, something that occurs to me is something about access rights, logging in, authentication. Can you elaborate a little bit on authentication methods? Sorry, English is difficult for me. That you can use at this point.
Yeah, sure, we can. We go back to my screen again, and I see it's still sharing, so we can continue on to the next slide. Basically, there are two ways, or you have to create an Azure app registration in Azure. Into that app, we can authenticate and request an access token, and this access token is necessary to communicate to the Graph API. We present that token to the Graph API, and that Graph API is checking if that token is valid. Basically, there are two ways to authenticate against an app registration. We can authenticate as a delegated rights, where we are using the user and password combination of a user, or we create an app that is created where you can authenticate using an application. Sorry. In this case, in the app is a secret key created, like a pre-shared key, which you then can program into your Azure runbooks, scripts, or any other applications that are running in the background and cannot use the combination of a username or password. And then they can access that Graph API tool using this secret key. So I hope that is answering your question, Frank.
Well, I hope it's asking everybody's questions. For me, it's clear. So now we have authenticated. Now we can start running scripts, if I'm not mistaken. Can we share some of those scripts, some examples that you can show us?
Yes, exactly. I will start sharing my screen again because I see it stopped sharing. So basically what I'm going to show you guys over here are some simple authentication scripts to request an access token. So we got the authentication delegation, that is the authentication method where we are logging in as a user, and we've got the authentication application. For example, let's say we want to authenticate as an application. We already have created the app registration in Azure AD. The WorkMate module is able to automatically create those applications in Azure, which I will be demonstrating later. So for now, I will be only showing how to connect to those applications and ask for an authentication token. When the app is created, you need the tenant ID, the client secret of the app, and of course the client ID of the app. At this point, we select those variables and we load them into memory. We have to create a little JSON body which we can send into the request method, which we post later. It's like this. And then we have the URL where we are connecting to, where we also define the tenant ID and where we can request the token. And we load that information. And at this point, we can request the access token. Currently, the token is inside this variable. We could also use this token in later scripts, but then we have to put in some more logic and make the script a little bit more difficult to read. So that's why we are formatting the token for a little bit easier use, which I show you later on what the difference is. And we make a new variable containing this information and the access token. So basically, we load that information and then we get the access token over here. The access token is actually a Beeren token containing this whole set of string characters. And I see that the screen share. I will share it again. Let me know if you see the screen. Sorry for that. This is probably going to happen a few times, this demo. So keep me posted when it happens. So basically, the authentication token is this whole long strings of character, and it has a valid date or a valid time of exactly 1 hour. So basically, you have to do all your action in 1 hour, and if you run out of time, you have to request a new one, and then you can continue on your work. So before I want to continue on our examples, if there are any questions, please let me know. If not, we can continue to the examples.
Maurice, do we have any questions incoming already?
It's still a bit quiet, but we have the question about the queries. If you can query the Graph API for multiple tenants. So, for example, if you have a couple of customers and you want to service them from your own credential.
Yeah, I can answer that. Of course, at Wortel, we have a lot of different customers, and we have implemented already quite of them already. Basically, we are keeping all those. We are using the application authentication method. That means that we are running this script in Azure Runbooks, and we are saving these secret keys into the Azure vaults so that we can safely store them, and we want to access a customer tenant. Then with the correct rights, we can open the vault, request the secret key, and then we can make a connection to any tenant of our customers.
Okay,
great.
So the answer to the question is yes, it's possible to use it against multiple tenants, and the how is using the method you just described. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep asking, keep sending in your questions, guys, using #AskWortel. Not only to make sure that you will win Microsoft Flight Simulator, but also to learn some new stuff along the way. Anything else at this point, Maurice?
Yeah, there's the question from MRapia84. Is the automation only possible in a new environment or also in an existing environment? Will it alter any existing configuration?
No, the current configuration that we have created for our modern workplace is based on all new objects. We've chosen to create all our own policies, all our own groups. We are not using any of the default groups and not altering any of the default groups. So basically we can implement and import our own configuration into an existing tenant where people are already using Endpoint Manager, using devices, using applications. And then we safely import our information. And when that's there, we can test it with a couple of users, and then we can migrate one by one each user to the new environment.
Great. Right. So if that was the last one, we move on. Let's get back to you again, Ramon. We have seen some examples. We've created our own module, right? It's called Workmate. I'm sorry, I'm looking into a little bit what we're talking about now. It's called Workmate. You showed it already.
Before we can continue to the module, I have some other examples on how to use the graph.
That's great. Yeah.
Would like to show them first.
Sure.
So let's go to my screen again. I see it's still sharing, so let's hope that it's still working. Basically, I got a few examples over here. What we will be doing over here is we're going to query attendance to see which users there are, which groups there are. Then we query a group to see which members there are in, and then we're going to add a member into that group. And then as a bonus, we are going to create something inside the portal, and then we'll be using a Fiddler to sniff what is happening on the background to see what the portal is doing, and how we can copy that information into our own script, and then using our script doing the same action like Fiddler is doing. I will start my screen sharing again because it stopped, and then we can continue with the first part. Basically over here, we've got our access token, and I said earlier in the authentication method, you could basically use only the response instead of formatting it into an authentication token. It's possible, but then we have to put this into the header every time, and now we have formatted into an authentication token variable, and we have to use only this one. Dus basically these two things do the same, but this is a little bit more complicated, so that's why we are translating it into a simpler thing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to search for a list of users. If you go to the Microsoft documentation over here, we go to users, and then I start my screen sharing.
Yep,
I saw it. So if you want to get all the users, you read the information over here, and then it's already saying, okay, you have to provide this URL, you have to do a GET request, and then you get a response containing users. So basically we copied this URL into this variable, and then basically we can load that information, and then using the access token, we do the request method, and then we can hit the selection button, and then inside this data are the users from this tenant. Of course, this is not very readable, so you have to play a little bit with the data that is given to you by the graph. And I made an example where you select the values and then put it in users, and then we do a sort object and only select the display name and the ID. Dus we can basically run this whole script or this whole stuff. And then we get a list of users inside this tenant. For example, if you want to do the same thing with groups, you look up the group documentation, and then it say, okay, instead of the users, you have to run it with groups, and we do the same over here. And then we run this part. Then you can see these are all the groups that are available in this demo tenant. Now, for example, let's say we want to see which are the members of the US sales group. And then we can switch back to the documentation, and we go to, basically you go to groups, and then you search for list members. So the main topic is somewhere over here, and then you scroll all the way down. So these are all things that you can do with the graph. So there's a lot of things, but we want to see, okay, what's in list members. And we scroll downstairs, and you see we have to do a GET request. group's ID, and this is then the group ID, of course. You scroll downwards, and then we've got an example of which kind of query we have to do. So basically, this is the query: groups, then the ID, and then members. So I said we want to see the members of the sales group. Over here we see the ID. I've copied this ID already in here. This is the same ID, and when we perform these commands, we will be seeing the group members. And then we can see these members are inside this group. Now, for example, now we want to add one of the other users to this group. And then we switch back to the documentation, and here we've got the documentation also from groups, but then of course add member. And over here they say, okay, then instead of get, we have to do a post request using this format. You scroll downwards, and then over here we got a little example what we have to do. So we do a post to this URL, including the group ID. But then we also have to include a little bit of JSON information, and it's saying this has to be in the JSON, this address, including ID of the user, the group objects. Basically, all directory objects have an ID, and if you want to add this object into this group, you have to enter that ID information over here. So let me go back to our example. And I already filled in the information. So basically, I've already filled in the same group ID of the US sales group, but I've also included the ID of a user. And if I scroll up, because we already listed the users over there, I want to add Raul Raso into the sales group. As you can see, if we scroll down, that user is not a member of this group yet. So basically, we've got the URL over here with the ID. And then we built a little piece of JSON over there containing the ID of the user. And then we run the info REST method. And instead of the post, instead of the get, we're running now a post. So if we run that code, you get no error message. When you don't see anything, it's usually good. And if we run the previous example and ask for the members of that group, we will see that we have added Raul into that group. As you can see, we run it again, and Raul is over there. This is really basic. You can get all the information from the graph documentation. But yeah, for example, if there's something which you want to do, but it's not in the documentation, how can you find out what you can do or how you can solve this? There's some kind of way to do I call it reverse engineering. It's not really that, but it sounds really nice. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to create an object inside the Azure portal using our browser, and then using Fiddler to sniff out the traffic that the browser is doing to find out how the browser is creating that object. And then we are copying that object into our script, and then make the same object, but not using the portal, but using our own script. So what we are going to do, first we go to the portal, and then we go, let me see, in the correct user. For example, we go to the endpoint manager, and it's not only endpoint, you can create a user and sniff what happens behind it. But for now, we go to devices, configuration profiles. We create a new profile, select Windows 10, and let's say we will be creating an email profile. We give the profile a name, email profile 1, and then we fill in the server information. For example, Wortel Mail is the account name. You select the attributes. Doesn't really matter what we are selecting over here. 1 week, 50 minutes for schedule. We sync the contacts. Anyway, basically make your choice. Then we can continue. Click on next. And then assignments. At this point, we are not making any assignments. We just create the rule. The application rules, we are not doing this. And at this point, you have to stop because the rule is not being created. It will be created after we click on create. And now it's time to start Fiddler. I have to, basically, I will open up the inspectors and then I will be going back to the portal and I will be hitting the create button. At this point, the rule is being created. Our action is being captured by Fiddler, including a lot of other things. So I stopped the sniffing. And as you can see over here, you can see where my computer or my browser is already connecting to. And you can see we are connecting to the graph. And we are connecting to device management and device configurations. We select the first one, and basically we're looking, if I select the raw, we're looking for a post. Because when you do a post option, you're posting or creating something into the graph. So this is options, and here we've got a post. As you can see, we are posting to this URL, device management, device configuration, and it's including a JSON file or a JSON object. If we open up the JSON tab, we can see, hey, we're creating an email profile configuration. It's called Wortel Mail email profile 1, and you can see it over here. So the trick is we go back to the raw and then we copy the address over here. And then we go back to our script and then we paste it into the URL. And then we remove, of course, the last part because the HTTP/1.1 is not part of the URL. Then we go back to Fiddler and then we copy this whole JSON string and then also paste that into our JSON body over here. And then you can make any changes that you want. For example, we already have a profile 1, we call it a profile 2. And if you want, you can make any changes. For example, we'll start my screen sharing again because it stopped. Luckily, it stays working longer and longer. Is it back? I hope so. Can everybody see the screen again?
Well, it's not real good.
Let me, I think now it's back, right? Yeah, okay. Good. For example, we call it profile 2, and for example, we change the host name of the mail server to stream. We go back a little bit more. Then we can select this whole part over here and run this part. And then sometimes you won't get any data back, but in this case, when we create it, we get something back where you can see that it's successfully created. You see email profile 1, user principal name. Basically, you see the host name. It's called Stream now. And if we then go back to our Intune portal, Endpoint Manager portal, and we click the refresh button, you see over here we've got email profile number 2. And when we open up the profile, I will start the screen again.
Yeah.
2, 3. Yeah, we see, if we go back, you see now I've got 2 email profiles. Number 2, we just created using the script. And if we go to the properties over here, then we can also see that the email server that we have changed into Stream, it's in there. So this is a neat, handy trick to see what basically the browser and the Azure portal is doing under the hood, and basically you can steal those kind of information and then do it yourself. It goes even further. I mean, you can even see over here the authentication token that the browser is having. You can even copy this into your own script, which is only valid for an hour, of course, but you can even reuse that information. So play around with it. You can do really nice things with it. Yeah. So any questions, please let me know.
Well, great stuff actually, and I think it's building on the earlier question about can you leverage everything. So if it's not available in the Graph API through the documentation and the reference that's published out there, both in the beta and in the not beta version of it, because there's a difference, I presume you can still find out how you can re-engineer the stuff that you need and then still tap into it. So I think that's real great.
That's correct. I must say the information in the Graph API documentation is not always complete. Sometimes even it's wrong and information is missing. But using this technique, you can probably find your way and build it yourself. Yeah.
Right. Will really help out. One thing about the beta API, is it safe to use references from the beta?
Yeah, well, Microsoft will probably say it's not safe to use. So I'm not going to say it's safe to use. But as you already maybe some of you have already noticed that even Microsoft, their own portals are using the beta URLs. So a lot of functionality is not available in version 1.0, but it is in beta. I have built a lot of things in beta, and you see Microsoft is also using it. I was showing it on the screen, but my screen is already stopped. So we'll start sharing my screen again. So if you can switch to our screen. As you can see over here, basically all the queries, at least of course making this object over here, is also against the beta version of the graph. And I've noticed that almost everything inside Endpoint Manager is speaking to that beta version. So is it safe to use? I say yes. Can it be changed by Microsoft? Of course, it can be changed. But that's with everything, of course.
It also goes for the 1.0.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Probably. All right. So this is all great stuff. So I was trying to make the connection earlier to the module that you have been building called Workmate. Workmate, kind of like the Workbench. So really your tool set to make your life easier. I would presume. What is Workmate? Can you give us a short impression on what that is?
Yes, I can do that. Well, like Frans already told, Workmate is a PowerShell module that we have been creating and developing to make our life easier to implement a default configuration into a new tenant or an existing tenant, actually. Before we could do that, we already have created a complete environment, and then we have exported all those components into separate JSON files. And using the mate module, we can import them, alter some information specific to this customer, and then import it into the new client. So we'll be starting to share my screen again. Let me see. Can you see my screen? Yes, I can see it. So basically, the examples that I've shown you are in this folder. We've got the made module in its own folder, and then we've got the Wortel config. These are just examples. It's not our production configuration, but it's just an example of for this demo purpose. Basically, we can at this point, we can import application, autopilot profiles, compliant profiles, conditional access policies, configurations, device enrollment settings, endpoint settings. That's all Endpoint Manager, but we can create groups in Azure Active Directory. Scripts we can import into Endpoint Manager, but we can also create users into Active Directory. Before I will show you what's in here, there's a setting file which is specific to each customer, which we need to edit before we start the import. And basically, it's about these three things that you need or can change. We've got the prefix. Let me share the screen again. No.
Very great.
The prefix option. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. The prefix option is being programmed into each policy that we are importing. So, for example, if we've got a customer that is called stream, you can say, okay, well, the prefix is str, and the UPN suffix of this customer is stream, and DATOP, it stands for development, test, acceptation, or production. We can keep it to production. So every rule that we are importing then is renamed using this information. The UPN suffix is being used for creating dynamic user groups where we are searching for specific users that have an UPN ending at stream. The rest of the configuration inside this file is static. It's being used while assigning groups to the specific policy, which I showed you later when the script is running. So this is the first change that you have to make before you can run our module. And then we go back to our example files. And then we go to our made comments. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is to import the PowerShell module, which we can do with this comment. When you won't get an error message, everything is okay. And for now, the first thing you need to do is to create the app registration in Azure Active Directory, and that we can do with this comment over here. We run this comment, and then you will get a pop-up box where you have to log in using your admin credentials. Let me log into my password keeper to get the credentials. Over here. For example, this is my demo user. It's my own name. I paste the username in here. I paste the password over here. If there are multiple subscriptions inside this tenant, you will get this tenant selection screen. Of course, this demo has only one, so we can select this tenant and then we click on OK. And this is basically where the module is going to start. It will give you the information, but what it wants to do. You have the option over here to create the application or the delegation app, or create both apps. And I start the screen sharing again. I think it's on. Yeah, great. For this example, we're gonna do the delegation app. So this will be the app that will be used using username and password sign in. So we choose for number 2. It will create the app, and of course I forgot to delete it in our previous example. So I will quickly delete it and then recreate it again. It's always something that you forget during a demo. We go to Azure Active Directory, then again you can see where the app is being created. We go to app registrations over here, all applications, and then we see the delegation and the application app. So basically this is the app. I will show it later in detail, but for now I will delete it first so that we can run the comment again and create the app. So both are deleted. We go back to our script. I think our script is died somewhere, so I have to open ICE again. Do we still have screen sharing? No,
Nope.
Nice. Okay, no problem. I think we're back, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. In the meantime, my session in ICE died, so we import the module again. We run the new made app registration. So don't run the whole thing. Sorry. So we run the new made registration using our global admin account. We log in. We paste the password over here. And the magic is going to happen after we have selected the correct subscription. So the tool, the module will ask what kind of app you will be creating. In this example, we are going to create the delegation app, and we select number 2. Now the app is being created in Azure Active Directory. When it's being created, it will provide that information about that app, and that is basically, in this case, the name of the app and the tenant ID and the client ID of the app, which we'll be using in the following examples. So we can copy this information into our script. After that is done, we need to accept the delegation of the rights of this app, and we do that by logging in one time into this app using a browser. So we hit enter, and you will be getting the question which browser you want to use. Each browser, if you have it of course on your computer, will be opened in an in-private session. So for this example, I will choose Chrome. Then Chrome will be opened, and you need to log in with the same user. That's important because this app is being created under the username. And after that, you have to enter your password. And then you will get the screen where it will be asking to review the rights that this app has and if you approve that. So you can see we're reading user profiles, Intune configuration, devices, Intune apps, etc. So we accept this. This is a one-time thing. Basically on the background, the delegation has been accepted and you're not getting any information anymore in this browser session. So basically the app is being created and that's it. If we now go back to Azure Active Directory and we go to the enterprise apps, it's basically the same as the other one, but you can see a little bit more information here. If you then scroll over here downstairs, you've got the Wortel WorkMate delegation app that has been created. And if we select on permissions, you can see this app having the same permission that you just have accepted the delegation and the admin consent, of course. And at this point, only the user which has created the app has access to this app. So if you want to give other users also access to this app, you have to add them over here. They can authenticate against this app and get an authentication token. So this is the first part. If there are any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will continue to the next part. And in the meantime, I share my screen again.
Actually,
Yes.
I think we have some questions, Maurice. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's a question about the previous chapter. It's a question about the reverse engineering you did with Fiddler. Mats Nijman asks, why do you copy the information from the raw tab, not the information from the JSON tab?
Good question. If you go, I can still show it because it's still open.
Cool.
If it's still there, let me see. Was it the correct one? Let me see. I think it was this one, or is it gone? I'm not sure. I think that was the question why I did not copy this one instead of the raw tab. Because I think this is just a JSON viewer, which makes it nice to read, but it's not really JSON code. So the first thing is you cannot copy it over here. I cannot select it. Can you see my screen? No.
No, it's hanging.
Sorry, I will share my screen again. Let me see. Is it working again? Yeah. So this is the JSON tab. It's only a JSON viewer. It is not showing the real JSON format. I cannot even copy it over here. If I go back to the raw, this is real JSON code. Let's give another example. I will copy the whole string. and I can open any browser and look for example, this website. It's called JSON Validator, and I can copy this string into this website, and then we can validate this string by hitting the validate button, and it also makes it more beautiful to read. So it formats a good string into a readable string. So that is the reason why I copied from the report tab and not from the JSON tab. So I hope that is answering your question.
I would say that answers the question, and I would say that's a fairly useful answer, actually. Yeah.
I know.
I have another question, Ramon.
Yes, shoot.
Yeah, when you're logging in to create that application, you're using username and password and not using multi-factor, for example. Nowadays, it's highly preferable to use multi-factor. I think for everything you're doing, multi-factor can be used. But is that correct, or it's a demo tenant? So I can imagine that multi-factor, you have to do extra stuff and break it down later today. But for other purposes, it can be used.
Yes, exactly. This is a demo tenant, so it's not containing any conditional access and MFA requirements. It is possible to work with MFA, but I've not configured that complete process in this tenant. So too bad I cannot show you how it works. Maybe in the next session.
No, but just to confirm.
Yes.
Great. Ramon, did you have some more demos that you wanted to share with us?
Yes, for sure. Now we come to the nice part. I want to show you guys the rest of our mate module and how we are going to import the information in our tenant.
Cool.
So we've created our application registration. Now we can request an authentication token. The first one is using the application app, but we have created the delegation app. As you can see over here, this is having the tenant ID, client ID, and the secret. Let me share the screen again, otherwise I will be talking about things and you cannot see it. Yeah, now let's see, wait until it refreshes. Okay.
There it is.
There it is. So it's telling the first one is the authentication method using the Azure AD application app, which we have not created because you can see it's got the tenant ID, client ID, and the client secret. But we've created the delegation app, and the delegation app is only containing the client ID and the tenant ID. So what we're going to do is select that information. See if the screen is coming back. Because it's,
Yep.
and then we run the selection so that we are loading the information into the variables. And then we are going to authenticate using the Azure AD app. So the first step is to request the credentials from this user, which is me in this case. We put it in over there, so it's in our pred variable. And the second part is to request the authentication token. And then we can see that we have received our authentication token.
It's gone now.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen already.
Yeah. Thanks.
1, 2, 3, 4. Just waiting to refresh it a little bit. I'm not sure if it's already refreshed. Yeah, there it is. After running this command, you can see we've received the authentication token. We can see it will be expiring in 1 hour. It's the client ID of the app, and in here is the parent or the authentication token actually So with this information, we can continue on importing the configuration. We will be doing that using the import m8 config command. We can select to import all the configuration, but we can also choose with this switch to only import certain parts like applications, group policies, conditional access, for example. But basically, we import everything. Then we have the source path and the setting file. The setting file defines or is saying to the script, hey, there is a setting file with specific customer settings. You have to use that and then translate that into that script before running it. So we run this. Then you get a little warning saying, yeah, I see that the screen again stopped working. So when we run this command, you get a nice screen saying, okay, you're about to import information into this tenant. Check if you are working in the correct tenant. Otherwise, you will be having some problems. So it will not break anything in an existing tenant, but you have to delete everything which you create. If you're okay with it, just type in yes. And then I'm still, is it working? No. It did work quite some time, but screen sharing. When we hit enter yes, we can hit the enter button and the magic is going to happen. As you can see, it is going to import all configuration items that are in the source location. This is going to take some time. While it's doing, I can show you a little bit about the JSON file. So basically, each thing, for example, each group is one JSON. If we edit the JSON file, we can say, okay, the description, it has a display name, it's a dynamic group membership, and it's containing the group membership rule. In this case, our prefix file will be renaming Wortel into your 3-letter prefix, so it will be done automatically for you. And the same is actually also for configuration policies like enable BitLocker, Windows update rings, conditional access policies. Every policy is one JSON with the exception of the applications. Because the applications like MSC, in this case WinZip, will also, the bin does not need to be there, but okay, we can delete it. Maybe it was my fault. Sorry. It was doing the 7-zip application, so that one probably failed. Sorry for that. But the 7-zip application, of course, needs the JSON file, and in that file, it's telling, okay, these are the silent installations switches. This is the detection method, and of course, it will need to upload the MSC also to Intune. Otherwise, you cannot install that. And basically, that is the same with the Win32 app, which is in this example Notepad. And over here, we've got the bin, Intune bin file, and of course also the JSON file. And for our references, I've included the resource files that are in the Intune bin. So if you open it, you can see the executable is there and the install command that will be installing the silent, or will be starting the silent installer using the switches in the location. So this is the only difference. The rest is all JSON files. You see the import is now finished, and then we can scroll back, and if you have any error messages, they are red, and that means they have failed. So in this case, you can see I have accidentally deleted the bin file, and after that the script wanted to delete it for me. Basically the application is created in Intune. It is being uploaded, and the last phase was to delete the temporary bin file. So basically I deleted for the script. So if we scroll a little bit more up, we can see everything is green, white is green. We have no any red error messages. So every profile or application is successfully uploaded into our endpoint manager. And that brings us to the second step, and that is basically assigning groups. So everything is now have been imported, but there is no group assignment, and that is the second part. So we are importing or assigning our policies to our groups. And basically, we also have to select the whole comment, and we're doing that with set made group. Config type, we also want to set groups for all our configs, and the source path location is our Wortel config, and it also includes our setting file. I will start the screen sharing again before I will start it. You see?
Most.
2, 3. Yeah, it takes a few seconds.
Yep.
Yeah,
There it is.
So basically, we start this. You get almost the same message. We'll be saying you are going to perform group assignment into this tenant. And we say, yes, we want to do that. We created a user. We want to make that user global admin. So it will be creating global admin, or it will be adding this user to the built-in group global admins. And then it will start editing the profiles. And then it will be including or excluding or required or install groups for each component. While this is running in the background, I will be going back to our settings.json file, because that is where all that configuration is being done. Each component has its own section for the group assignments. For example, we've got our autopilot over here, and you can see we've got 2 autopilot profile. And the autopilot profile, where the user is being made local admin, is included or assigned to this Azure AD group. And we've got the local user one, as you can see, that is assigned to the local user group. And basically, that's for all the configuration. The only difference are the conditional access policies. It's also possible to include users or exclude users. And the other differences is the application. Over here you got the 7-zip and the Notepad. There you have the option to use the required group, where the application is being installed automatically, or you can also use the available group, where the application is being provided in the Intune portal and the user can select it and install it. And you can, of course, also include an uninstall group, which is automatically triggering the uninstall action inside the application. So when we go back to the script, you can see it's finished. You can see over there. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
All good.
Start the screen sharing again. Yeah, I think it's there. Yeah. So we can see the script is ready. Over here you can see it has added the conditional access policies. It's included this user group. It's excluding administrators and all guest users. And if we scroll down to the rest of the logging that has been created to the screen, you see, is it there? Yeah. Yep. It says the application, 7-zip required, Notepad, it's available to this group. So basically all the assignment has been done and you have no error information. So everything has been done successfully. So this is basically, when you have done this, you've got very basic, because we did not put all the configurations into this script, but you've got a working environment where you can basically import a device into Autopilot, and then you can start Autopilot. It will be joined into Intune, Azure AD. It will get this application, and basically the user can log in, and it will get BitLocker, and a few couple of conditional access policies has configured. So you've got a little complete environment which is being ready to use.
In this amount of time.
Yeah, if you have to click all this manually, it will take you a lot of time. Probably if you have to do it 10 times, you will probably make some mistakes or typos.
Right. Right. Very impressive.
Yes, Ramon, a question about well, you have imported different configurations at the moment. Is it possible that I have already an existing environment? Can we pull out the data? Is that possible?
Yes, of course. We've also were thinking about that. How handy can it be if we are configuring a client or an environment and make some kind of backup of it? And that's basically the export function of the script, which I will be also give a little short demo about it. So I've started sharing my screen again. Please let me know if you guys can see my screen again. Yes, you can see it.
It's,
Over here, we've got export config. For example, you can export everything into this directory, but let's say we only want to export the compliance policies into this directory. Just to show you that this directory is empty, we go back to live stream, and then it was temp export. There's no export over here. We run the selection and let's say, okay, you're gonna do this into this tenant, and you type in enter, and it basically really quickly creates the export folder. It creates the compliance policy, and it will export the configuration that we have created earlier into this folder. After my screen is shared again, yep, there it is. And then you can see those two policies that we have imported are now being exported one-on-one with the same prefix name, the same P from production, and then the name. This brings us probably to our next question. Can we then also import this into a tenant or make changes into such a policy? And yes, of course, we can do that. For example, if I edit the iOS compliance policy, and make a little change over here, and I change the passcode minimum length from 4 into 6, and I save this file, then we can import this again into the tenant, and let's see what happens then. Basically, we're using the same, I share the screen again. We're using the same import command with the config type also not on all in the previous exception where we are going to import only compliance. We use the same path as the export, but in this case we omit or do not use the setting file because the setting file is telling the script to replace the naming convention, but we want to do a one-on-one import into the same tenant with the same name. So basically, we leave everything like this, and we are going to import it into the tenant. We select the rule, we run it, we say, yes, we want to import this information, hit enter, then you will get the following thing. It is seeing, okay, if the compliance profile with this name already exists, comparing to find the differences over here. And then it will give you the property name, passcode minimum length. In Intune, it's 4, but the JSON file says it's 6. And then you get a question, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to import it or not import it? So in this case, we want to make this change also in our environment. We say yes, it's saying adding device compliancy, but basically it's just changing it. And then again, it's seeing another compliance policy, the Windows 10. It is comparing the differences, but we did not make any changes to this policy, and it sees that, so it just skips it and ends the script. So that's a way how you can make backups, change things, and upload it again, see the differences, and so you can have some more freedom of what you want, basically. So that's our work, what we have done until now. So if there are any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, It's very cool. It's very cool. Do we have any questions at this point from the audience?
No, sorry. At the moment, nobody's asking questions. Too bad. The missing out because it's really fun.
It's real fun, but also we're running out of time, so maybe it's a good thing. Frans, you have done a short introduction on how this all get started. What are the future plans for you guys on this module?
What we have seen is lots of integrations with Azure Active Directory, Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and for the next few months, I think it's good that all the enhancements coming from Azure AD, we would like to add that as well, but also Teams provisioning, OneDrive, Windows Virtual Desktop, which not shown, but is already some part of this module. And also, we want to publish a basic version of this module on our GitHub. So we're looking forward to contributions on that PowerShell module, so you can help on that and you can use it also. So beginning next year, hopefully we will put it on GitHub and publish it, and we will make announcements on our social channels on that.
Yeah, great to hear that we're sharing it back to the community, and let's work together to improve it and make sure that everybody can use it in their work and ease their lives a bit, like Ramon is doing for his. So very good, great stuff, Ramon. Thank you very much for the extensive demos. It's really impressive stuff. We're going to wrap it up because we're planning an hour, and of course we're running late again. All of you guys, thank you very much. As promised, we are going to announce the winner of the flight simulator. And we have somebody in the background that's running the names through the Tombola right now. And name that's rolling out is Matt Nijman, with the great question, I think, about the Fiddler copy. So Mats, please get in touch with us using email werken@wortel.nl. Please reach out to us and we will get you all set up for the flight simulator. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, thumbs up, stuff like that. We'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Again, to my colleagues, very, very much appreciated. And we're looking forward to see you next time.